Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Georgiman, and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime and all things manga, and I'm here today to talk about Pluto, the Netflix anime series that just got released a couple of weeks ago. Just finished the full series, and I'm here to break it down and have a full review of the entire series with a special guest. After many people suggested to bring her back, everybody enjoyed that AOT video. Got my girlfriend again here. we finished the Pluto series, and spoiler, we loved it. So we're gonna completely do a breakdown on it, and I'm gonna break it down at first by talking about pretty much a little non-spoiler review, and once we get like pretty much everything out of the way, I'll go into full spoilers for anybody that's interested in that and hearing our opinions throughout the story about non-spoilers, spoilers and non-spoilers. So, but before I go with this review, I just wanted to talk about and let you guys know to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my anime and manga content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps a lot, and I would really, really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you guys could, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that out of the way, let's talk about Pluto. So Pluto, for people that don't know, is a reimagining of Astro Boy, specifically an arc in Astro Boy's continuity, and it's written by Naoki Urasawa, as well as is a collaboration with the creator of Astro Boy. And if you guys don't know who Naoki Urasawa is, he is to me the GOAT of manga. I think he is the greatest single storyteller in manga because he's the most versatile when it comes to jumping from franchise and just the way that he's able to jump from genre to genre, whether it's a detective, a mystery and monster, which is his magnum opus, or a sci-fi, psychological thriller detective, series such as Pluto, as well as 20th Century Boys, Billy Bat, and the list goes on and on. And this is actually my second Urasawa series that I ever watched or read. And I was looking into Pluto, hearing people say that it's a 10 out of 10 series. People that read it, they all said it was great. And they always rank it amongst, Urasawa's best works with Monster. Monster being number one, obviously. And if you guys haven't seen Monster, check out Monster. It's great. Very great written characters. And I'm very pleased to say that Pluto definitely lived up to the expectations, and it lived up to the hype that I had, because Monster is in my top 5 anime of all time. I love that series. And I'm very happy to say that Pluto definitely cracks my top 10 of all time. And it's really good, guys. It's really, really well done. And it really tackles a lot of issues that even in our today's society we tackle with AI, and just how people, how we're starting to go even more into the future where AI is getting more advanced, and it's we're starting to realize like what makes a person slash what makes a living being. Is it that they have a physical body? Is it that they're self-aware? And I think Pluto tackles those themes very, very well. I don't know about you. How did you feel about Pluto when we watched it?
Oh, absolutely loved it. It was riveting the whole time. I did not expect to be so emotional after just the first episode.
And if anybody's seen the first episode, you know exactly what we're getting at with it. And we'll talk about it later on in the spoiler section of the video. But to keep it briefly, just Pluto is a detective thriller that throughout the entire show does not hold your hand, and you go in this crazy ride, pretty much being introduced to a bunch of lovable characters that will stick with you, in the future as well. Like after the series is all said and done, these characters stick to you. Like it's something that you don't forget. Like all of them have their own personalities. They're all phenomenally written, as Urasawa was known for, because he's always known for writing a bunch of very interesting, larger than life characters and bringing them to life in such a manner that, audiences like ourselves can just digest it and just be blown away. There was a lot of characters that I thought in this show that I was like, okay, I think I know where they're heading towards, and I think I know what their character arc is going to be. And I was completely wrong. In typical Urasawa fashion, he always, throws everything that he throws away all your preconceived notions out of the window and just completely takes you in this wild ride. And it was a blast from beginning to end. And the emotional highs in this entire show are some of the best written emotional moments I've seen in a manga or an anime in many, many years. I'm not gonna be ashamed to say that I cried multiple times watching this show. A lot of very emotional moments. Like when I mean very emotional moments, even at the beginning of towards the end of episode 1, the when this show hits, it hits, guys. Like it goes from 0 to 100 like that, and it's magnificent for doing so. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, you really covered it. Um, it's just fantastic, and you should watch it. I
Um,
don't want to spoil anything.
yeah, that's why we're getting to the spoiler section. So if you got this far into the video, just know that for the non-spoilers, I think if you're walking into Pluto expecting a great sci-fi thriller, I think you're gonna be very, very happy. I think it's the closest thing I would say for an anime compared to like something like Blade Runner. For any like big sci-fi, fans, I think you'll be very, very pleased into walking into this series, and just enjoying it for what it is. It's a crazy wild ride that has a lot of very high thought like sci-fi concepts where it's like the whole theme about like I said earlier, what makes somebody a living being, and what's the difference between humanity and robots slash AI. Like how when does it come to the point where the AI and the robots cross the line and evolve to something closer to humans, like. And that's the theme about this show where you see these AI and robots that, they, even though they're quote unquote non-living beings, they have a lot of properties, and, they have emotions themselves. They have relationships. They have, a lot of caring nature behind them, and they just have feelings. And that's something that, you would think to yourself, like, how can a machine have feelings? And that's something that this show is all about. It's how these quote unquote robots, non living beings, they they really aren't any different than somebody like with flesh and blood. At the end of the day, like they're self aware, they have conscious, they have their own passions, their own dreams, and they have their own feelings, which is something that, this story really touches upon is, how can something that's not designed to have feelings end up having feelings. And I think that the way they tackled it in the show was very, very well written. And it's something that, like I said, it will stick with you guys. Like it's a very deep story. And yeah, I can't recommend it enough. And if you are still not convinced, just check it out for you guys. Like watch the first episode, guarantee you're gonna be hooked. And you're gonna be like, okay, I need to finish the whole series. And one last thing before we go to the spoilers, I just want to say that I think it was very smart for Netflix to release it in 8 episode format in hour long episodes, because each episode really hits. Like each episode was an hour, but in all honesty, the pacing was fantastic. I never was bored. I don't know about you. How did you feel about the pacing and
No,
the?
it was fantastic. It was always something happening. Dialogue, exposition. It was never a dull moment.
Well, would you say that one of the reasons it was never dull it was because like the characters, you were invested in them, and that the story itself always drove you, and you were just like, whoa, where's this going? Like,
Oh yeah, of course. I love all the characters. You get so attached to them. You don't want anything bad to happen to them.
and I think with all that being said, I think I knocked it out. We pretty much knocked everything out and just said that yeah, watch this show, guys. It's really, really good, and yeah, just give episode 1 a try. If you're not hooked by episode 1, I don't know what to tell you, but trust me, episode 1 will hook you into the show, guaranteed. And I think with that being said, I think now we can get to the full spoilers now going forward, which I'm very, very excited to talk about. So if you have not seen Pluto and we're just watching this for a brief review about the show, whether you should watch it or not, yes, you should watch it. Simple as that. And come back to this video once you watch it, and so we can discuss the spoilers. But with all that being said, I'm going to go full on spoilers. So in the count of 1, 2, 3, I'm going to go full spoilers, guys. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's talk about North number 2. North number 2, his whole character arc was beautiful. It was just perfect. It was one of the best written characters I've ever seen in a anime, manga, TV show, movie, whatever you want to call it, just in fiction.
Media in general.
Yeah, just the medium itself. North number 2 was such a phenomenal character that literally I was crying my eyes out. In the first episode, I'm already tearing up, and she was my witness. I was just so emotional throughout it all. And when you see North number 2 just, you know, die, and you see the piano guy, the older gentleman that was, being mean to North Number Two, just saying like, "Please come back. I'll teach you play the piano. Just come back." It just gets you in the feels. You're like, man, like, and the fact that North Number Two was haunted, like he had nightmares about all the actions that he did in the war, where he had to kill his own kind. It really humanized the robot element, even from episode one, where you're like, these robots have PTSD from war, and I know a lot of war veterans can relate to this. So I'm sure if they watch the show, they'll be like, yeah, that's something I relate to. And I think that the way that North Number Two was brilliantly written, from where he was talking to the piano guy, where he was saying like, I was built for destruction. Even the piano guy was like, why are you even here? Why are you being my butler? You're built for destruction. He's like, yeah, but you should go back to the battlefield. He's like, I'm here. Because he asked him like, why are you my butler? He's like, I'm here because I don't want to go back to the battlefield. And it's like, damn, like, you really feel for North Number Two. In that small amount of screen time that he gets, literally about less than 30 minutes, you fall in love with this character and his story. So when he's taken away from you, you're like, it's a gut punch. Like, you're like, whoa, like, that was a trip, guys. Like, I can't stress this enough. That scene, the whole section of the first episode regarding himself and the piano player, that was an 11 out of 10, like, whole story beat. That little bit itself is better than most series are in its entirety.
It could have been a standalone movie on its own.
It could have just been a OVA, a one-shot
episode,
one-shot manga, whatever you are. It was just phenomenally written. And if you want to add anything else to episode number 1, if I didn't already touch upon,
can we just give a salute to our man North 2?
Rest in peace. No, but yeah, overall, North Number Two was great, and it really kicks you in all high gears to be fully invested in this, because now it's a mystery. Like, who is this thing that keeps killing all these elite robots? Because we find out that there's, I believe, 7 elite robots that were created for destruction and why not, and they're all being hunted down. And the first one that got hunted down was this robot called Mont Blanc, which was like an allegory for Smokey the Bear, I would say, or like an environmentalist. And even Mont Blanc, this dude really, as soon as the show starts, just the brief breakdown that we get of the character, you already love this guy. He was very like about the environment. He ended up fighting, he went to fight the villain Pluto, that we find out later, the one that brings the tornadoes. He went to fight it because he was trying to protect the forest, and Mont Blanc gets taken down. But even then, like, there's glimpses of Mont Blanc throughout the show where you see flashbacks of him, how Brando, Hercules, and himself were in the war. And, Mont Blanc is asking, like, why are we here? Like, why are we killing these people? Like, and it's just, you see just how he looks dead inside, because he knows that he's killing his fellow, robots. And to put more insult to injury, there's a law in the world of Pluto in which robots are not allowed to kill humans at all. But when a human kills robots, it's fine. And that's just, it's an allegory in the sense of the class system, where it's, your life is valued way less than our life. And that's something that even in the real world, tragically, that's something that happens in the real world. And it's very, very apparent that, it took an issue like that in the show and really put it to the full front, where, you're seeing these characters just suffer the consequences of their creators. And it's very tragic. Do you have anything to add to Mont Blanc?
He just wanted to help whoever he could, the environment, the people in it,
and even when you see his like big memorial, this guy's a big deal.
Yeah,
like,
and he's beloved by everyone.
And I think that Urasawa did a good job, like really getting you invested in a character. You really,
you don't even know.
When the story starts, the first thing we know is that he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And right off the bat, you're like, okay, I like this guy. I like this character. I'm sad that he died. Like, what the heck? And after that, pretty much what happens is we see the character Brando gets introduced, and Gazik, the main character, the detective. Gazik's character was phenomenal. Really, really well written character. And I think that the conclusion to his arc was stellar. I think that the way that he was by many considered to be the strongest living robot, because he was nearly indestructible. He was very smart. He was the world's best detective. And the only way that at the end of the day he was able to be taken down, it was not through any, physical fight, because it wasn't throughout. He wasn't taken down because of a fight. He wasn't taken down because of soldiers. He was taken down because of a psychological attack on him, which was bringing a robot that looked just like his son that got killed. And that was that was the one moment where he slipped up and he was taken out. He could have avoided that shot easily, but it's the fact that when he sees this tiny robot that reminds him of his son, he is just completely shattered. And just that whole reveal was very well written. It was very hinted early on, and I kind of guessed it. I was still not 100% correct in some aspects, but I did guess that what if he adopted a son? Like, well, maybe that was the lost memories. That was something I was able to figure out earlier on in the show. I know that you were more shocked than I was because I kind of called it, because I thought that would fit, Gazeek's character, because we find out that he killed a human. And I was figuring like maybe that dude, because we find out that that guy was like a monster, and he definitely was, because he was hunting down young little robots and killing them, disassembling them, destroying them. And it's sad the fact that Gazeek's adopted son, that he had just rebuilt and nurtured, he was a victim of, that monster. And Gazeek snapping at the fact that he sees his son in the body bag and he realizes like the killer's right in front of him. He does the most human thing that anybody would do in that scenario, which is completely snap and, turn the guy into dust. And after that, that's why he gets his memory wipe. And throughout the show, he's starting to realize like something's off. And once he does realize that, it's like Gazeek at the end of his character gets to be human, because he did what a human would do and just completely snap. He had anger, which is something that no robot was ever to, made to pretty much compute.
Not anger, hatred.
Anger and hatred and all those feelings, they were not allowed to have that in their programming. Yet Gazeek was able to have that towards the end of the story, making him human. According to Dr. Tenma, what he said, the one thing that Adam liked was hatred and, all that. And Gazeek, thanks to him and his hatred, was able to make Adam eventually become the perfect robot once he downloaded his AI, because he gave him more humanity to him. But yeah, Gazeek's character, just really, really phenomenal character, and I love him to death. And I was so sad when he passed away, just heartbroken. And I was very shocked, to be honest. That main character, because Gazeek plays, the main character throughout the majority of the show. So when he dies around episode 6, I was like, whoa, did they just kill the MC? I was not expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like I said, once again, Urasawa, the master that he is, always throws you off your game. And he definitely did with that. And I give him mad props for it, because I would have never guessed the Gazeek would have died. I've seen Gazeek in the cover of the manga. I seen he's the detective trying to solve the mystery, but he never solves it because he dies, and it's just tragic. And overall, yes, Gazeek, phenomenal character. Is there anything you want to talk about him that I didn't touch upon?
He's just awesome. He's a well-rounded character. He has depth. He has everything you want in a character. Everything you want in a main character, really, right?
And he even had a wife, and that little story between them was really great. And I think that the wife also had a really nice ending to her arc, where she starts crying, like she feels sorrow, and she's depressed at the fact that Gazeek passed away. And she looks at Dr. Tenma as like, is it like, what do humans do at this point? Like, and he's like, they cry. It's like how do I cry? And he's like, that's something you gotta like, give me your best interpretation. And she just completely loses it and just starts crying her eyes out. And it's very emotional. Like Elena, that's his wife's name, she was also a great character. Like, even towards the end, when she has her last interaction with Adam, and she realizes like Adam was lying to her, like if she has that glimpse, it's like, okay, you're definitely human, like, or you did something that robots aren't supposed to do, which is lie. So yeah, I can see you're fading more towards being a human, like the evolution, the whole thing where it's bound to happen. Like, and even Urasawa, in a comment I saw of him, like where he discusses Pluto, he said that for the longest time we humans have taken over, but it's time to pass the baton to the next generation, talking about the AI and stuff like that. So I thought that was very, very well, put together and thought out when it came to Gazeek's character and his wife and their beautiful, beautiful relationship. And some other characters I want to touch about is Brando. Brando was the guy with the kids, the big guy with the mech, and he was great. And also once we got introduced to him, I was like, oh, I don't want him to die. But it was the biggest red flag because when he has kids and he's like, it was just sad.
You just knew this guy wasn't gonna make it.
Yeah, but the saddest part of it all is when he steals his own mech and decides to fight Pluto all alone just to take on the burn because he does not want to get anybody involved. And he calls himself the strongest amongst them. Like, and most people agree that he was the most like powerhouse between all of them. And he fights Pluto all alone in a 1-on-1. And he thinks that he beats him. And so does the entire cast. But later on, when we find out that Pluto's still alive, that's what really sets up everybody going forward and, really puts everybody on the edge because they're like, okay, what are we going to do now? And the next victim of Pluto, it pretty much ends up being Adam, I believe. And Adam when Adam got taken out, that was crazy. I was not expecting that at all. When Adam got taken out, I was like, there's no way they're killing Astro Boy. And he did. Like, I get for a period, a brief moment in the story, he did, he was considered dead. He doesn't come back till the very end. And yeah, that was very shocking. I really like that sequence. It really showed Pluto just how powerful he was. And yeah, Adam up to that point, we thought that he was gonna be like unstoppable because that's Astro Boy, and when he dies, you're like, whoa, like that just happened. And talking about the other robots, let's talk about Hercules. Hercules was great. I think all of the robots overall, all the 7, robots were great, very well written. Hercules' arc was more simplistic, but also very well thought out in the sense that, once Brando passed away, he felt like a chip off his shoulder was never going to be able to be left because he and Brando had a rivalry, like a friendly rivalry, and they always fought, and it was always a draw. And he was really thought that he was going to beat him this last final time when they fought, but that fight never happened because Brando passed away. And you see he's trying to figure out like what to do. And there's a moment in a flashback that I think you remember too, where you see Hercules just kind of in the battlefield and he's like, hey, what are you doing to another robot? Another robot is just washing his hands. And no matter how hard the robot tries to wash the hands, it's like, it doesn't go away, which it's obviously symbolism.
On his hand.
Yeah, it's the symbolism of the blood of his fellow robots that he's, destroyed throughout the entire war. And it's stuff that, these robots are suffering through. Like, they're just, people just want to see them as machines, but in reality, they're more than that. They have feelings, they have their own admirations, their own dreams. And it's just very sad that the fact that we humans had to, mate them and do these terrible, war crimes, because they did do war crimes in the end of the day. They were just destroying themselves and, invading other countries. And it was just very tragic. And Hercules' arc where he fights Pluto and he wants to get revenge upon Brand because of Brando's death. So he ends up fighting Pluto, and he ends up dying. I think that it was just sad. It was just very tragic. And we got to talk about Epsilon and Uran. Uran was very interesting. She's Adam's younger sister. Her whole shtick is that she can like read people's feelings and stuff. And I think that she's really important in the sense that she's the main focus when it comes to humanizing a robot, where she can read people's feelings. And she eventually like visits Adam's grave, and Dr. Tenma is like you keep visiting this grave and your sorrow, but you're a robot. How can you do that? Like, and I think her character was great. I think she's probably in my lower robots that I enjoyed, but she's still great. I think all of them are great. It's just that she didn't like hit me as hard as she could, like I guess in an emotional level, but she's still great. I still really enjoyed her character for what it was, especially with Adam and her whole thing where she meets Pluto in a different body, and the whole plot twist happens later on. Anytime to Uran, she's kind of just cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong.
A solid character.
Yeah. And lastly, I think if I remember correctly, the last one that we got to discuss of the 7 robots that were made for destruction, Epsilon. Epsilon, great character. Okay, if you've seen Monster, I'm not the only one that can think this. Homeboy looks just like Nina. from Monster, or Johan when he's wearing the wig, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, straight up. The first time I saw him, I thought he was actually gonna be the villain, just because I was like, this dude just looks like Johan, like with long hair. I was like, this guy has to be the villain. He wasn't. He's actually just like the most Giga Chad, proud adopted parent. Love him to death. Very a pacifist, and that's an element of his character that I really enjoyed, where he's technically the strongest. Like my man can do an Oppenheimer. Like this dude can just go nuclear or at any point just like nuke everything. But he decides not to because he's a pacifist. He does not want to, spill blood. He's seen a lot of messed up stuff in the war. He had to melt his fellow comrades, like just to reuse the metal, and just terrible stuff that he had to do in the war. And I'm glad that he was able to adopt those kids, and
And the way he found the one kid that was really messed up.
oh, because he was literally gonna nuke, and then he was like,
He
no, I
was going
can't.
to wipe out the whole town, but he was like, no, I can sense someone here. And he found his son.
And the fact that he snaps at the general, at the military general, and the military general is like, okay, whatever, cry about it,
Yeah.
go nuke now. And like Epsilon is just like, are you serious? It makes it more fitting when that general gets killed, because you're like, yeah, screw that guy.
Yeah.
He was a douche. And I did like the fact that when he fights Pluto, it's very clearly that Epsilon could have beat him. Like Epsilon was just that strong, and Epsilon decides to let Pluto go because he sees that it was actually the dude. I can forget the dude's. Remember the dude's name, Sahid or something. I forgot the AI that was all about the flowers, and the one that the Abdul created.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually,
He wanted to fill the world with flowers.
yeah, that the Zahid, that dude.
Field of flowers.
Yeah, the Zahid guy. He was actually Pluto, and he realized like there's somebody inside of there. Like he does not want to fight. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. Like he just wants to die because he's like, I don't want to be in this body. And Epsilon just like feels pity for him, and he knows that he doesn't want to kill, and he wasn't made. He might have been made for a destroying machine, but he does not want to do that. And Epsilon lets him go, and that's a thing. That's a scenario where it really comes back to hunt at Epsilon in the future. However, he sticks to his morals, and he does not want to like take people's life. He's a pacifist at heart, and it shows through and true. And yeah, Epsilon, great character. He went out protecting his loved ones, protecting the kid, and yeah, it was just very tragic. His character when he passed away, I was sad. Really liked him. Um, yeah, just great character. Really, really nice character overall. And this all leads back to pretty much the towards the end of the story, where we see Adam finally get his memories back. He's back to his full self, but he's kind of messed up. He's not the same Adam. He's not the same loving boy. But once he gets the AI of Gazik, and he starts seeing Gazik's memories, he starts feeling like what it's mean to be human. And once he gets those emotions and stuff, that's when he's truly the closest borderline between human and robot, pretty much evolving to a next step in evolution. And with that, he goes and fights Pluto. And the conflict with them too was great because throughout the fight, you see Pluto crying, and you find out that Pluto's not even the main bad guy. It's actually this other unit called Goji, and the dude Abdul. We think that he's like, oh yeah, that's my creation, yada yada yada, and then we find out no, he's not even human. He's just
He's a robot himself.
all this time he himself thought that he was like a cyborg or something. No, he was a robot all along, and he was the AI of the dude Abdul that he based himself off. And he's like, when I die, make this AI of myself. And this AI was so self-aware that he really thought he was human. And the whole reveal was crazy. I did not see that reveal at all whatsoever. So mad props once again to Orozawa for his great writing. And pretty much we see that he puts his consciousness into this big blob looking thing, and he's gonna like pretty much destroy the world by polluting it with the ash of a volcano that would destroy the ozone layer. And why not? And the reason is because the AI want to take over the world because they know that humans will die because of this, but machines won't. And we find out that Adam, he figures this out. He's like, okay, I need to take this dude down, and he fight, and they have a great fight. Very well. The whole show looks beautiful, like animated wise. It's just beautiful animation all across. I watched it in English because I watch I'm an English sub guy. I can switch back and forward, but I watched this one in particular in English dub, and the dub was phenomenal. Really great performances all across the board. Some of my noteworthy ones would be Gazik, as well as Epsilon voice actor was great. Hercules' voice actor was great. Um, Dr. Temas was great. That's Keith David. Love him. He's great. He's a phenomenal, goated voice actor. Um, yeah, overall, just
North
everybody.
number two.
North number two's voice actor. Yeah, just everybody's voice actor in general. I can go on and on about every character. Their voice fit perfectly. And I would, if somebody were to ask me what should I watch it, I would suggest watch the English dub, just because everybody gives it their A game. You can go. There's no wrong answer. I'm just saying for my preference, I went with the English dub. So if someone were to ask me, yeah, just watch the English dub. It's great. Um, but yeah, back to the final confrontation. With Adam fighting Pluto, I kind of figured out at the end. I said that I told her too. I think that Pluto's gonna have a redemption arc because I think his character deserved a redemption arc because of everything he had been put through, and I think that the way that he pretty much saves Adam, it was very noble. Just pretty much having Adam launched, get him out of there, and proceeds to just self-destruct with Goji and protecting Earth, and because I guess there was a chemical reaction that he did where instead of the ashes like destroying the ozone layer, it was gonna like freeze, and he protects it so the Earth doesn't get destroyed. In other words, because of his own noble sacrifice, and I think that was very well fitting for an ending for Pluto and his character and Zahid, and he did get to accomplish what he wanted, which was to die, but also he got to die in his own terms and pretty much destroy Goji, his creator, the guy that put him in that situation. So a great way to end it. And the Norse Lights, do you remember? It was very beautiful, and you see all the other robots that have passed away. You see Gazik, you see Mont Blanc, number 2, Hercules, Brando, just very, very beautiful scene, and you see just Adam there. And yeah, the show just ends where pretty much we set up Astro Boy. Bless you. We set up pretty much Adam as he is the Astro Boy, and I thought that yeah, it was a great take for new viewers of Astro Boy. I myself only saw the 2003 anime, bits and pieces of it, and I enjoyed it for what it was. But I've never been like a huge Astro Boy. I'm not like a big Astro Boy buff. But I do appreciate his character, what he represents for the anime community, because he was that very first anime ever made. And he's very iconic, and he's a milestone character. Like you love it or hate it, Astro Boy is iconic, and he always will be, and the founding father of anime as a whole. But yeah, Pluto, great series. What would you say were some of your favorite moments, and like overall throughout the show?
Overall? Well, I mean, I wouldn't say favorite, but most touching moments, I guess, would be North number 2, learning about Gazikt and his family, the struggle Adam has to go through within everything, within the memories he gets. Just there's so many moments. It's hard to think because there's so many of them.
And talking about Adam, there's a moment I wanted to bring up that I haven't brought up, which is the moment where Dr. Tenma talks about to the other scientist guy, and he's like, "Yeah, Adam is perfect." He's like, "No, he's not." He's like, "Why is that?" He's like, "Because we see a flashback of Adam eating with Dr. Tenma, and we known that Dr. Tenma based off Adam's looks of his own son that passed away. So he sees they're eating at a meal, and Dr. Tenma's like, "How's the food?" He's like, "Oh, it's delicious. I love it, Dad." He's like, "Okay, can you clean your room after?" He's like, "Yeah, of course." And then Dr. Tenma's like, "Yeah, you're not my son. You're never going to be my son. My son always hated this food. My son never did his chores. Like, my son hated me." And that's the one thing that he always said, that no matter how hard he tried, he was never going to replace his actual son. And like I said, we know that because to him, he's just perfect. He was designed to pretty much fulfill. He's trying to pretend like at the end of the day, Adam is not his son, never will be. And Dr. Tenma knows that, but even he himself was like lying to himself that, yeah, that is my son. It's very sad. It's very very sad, but it's very realistic. A lot of people try to fill in their void when somebody passes away. Similar to like when a pet passes away, you try to get a new pet. to fill the void that the previous pet left, but it's not the same. And yeah, it was just very touching moment with that. Another moment I wanted to bring up that I completely skimmed through was the dog. When the scientist finds that broken dog and takes him home, and it's so sad that he's trying to fix him and he's giving it his all, and then the dog is trying to fight it through too, but he can't,
But he can't.
because he's just
He gives
old.
it his best shot.
And then he passes away. Oh my! I cry with that. Like, I was like, oh my god, this is like the fifth time I've cried this show. It's just an emotional journey, and it's really touching because you just see this doctor being like, I can create the world's best robots, but I cannot even save this dog. Like, what kind of scientist am I? And it's just, yeah, like, it's just very captivating and very interesting dissection of, just how we humans, interact with AI. And specifically right now, like, the commentary of the show is I think that the show has been released at the best moment it ever could have been, because especially with the conversation with AI and humans currently, I think that it really touches a lot of strong points for our society, in the sense that these questions that we're asking, in that the show asks to the viewer, are questions that in the real world people are asking to the masses. And I think that knowing that Pluto was released like in 2003, like way before any of this like AI stuff really took off, I think just gives it more I can't even speak.
Validity.
Yeah, it validates it even farther by just putting it as a true sci-fi masterpiece. Like, in the sense that I think many years from now, people are gonna look at Pluto and just be like, whoa, like,
It was ahead of its time.
it was ahead of its time, not just in the anime but also in the manga, because manga was 2003. But yeah, overall, I think just Pluto was so good, and I think it's an instant classic. I think that a decade from now, people are gonna look back at Pluto and just say masterpiece. I think right now people are already calling it a masterpiece, which it is. To me, it's just the perfect anime. One of the few animes I've ever seen in my life where I can say it's truly perfect. Like, I wouldn't change anything. Like, it's just such an intriguing ride, and the characters are so enjoyable, and you fully immerse yourself in the world. That, yeah, I just would suggest anybody to watch it, and I would go out of my way to say, yeah, I think for me personally, I think if someone were to ask me what's the best anime of 2023, I would say it's Pluto. It would be a toss up between Pluto and Vinland Saga Season 2.
I agree.
The only reason I would give it to Pluto is solely because it told an entire story in those 8 episodes. And Season 2 of Vinland did that too as well. Like, definitely did that.
But it's still ongoing.
But it's still ongoing at the end of the day. The story hasn't wrapped. And I think that just the fact that it's a self-contained, and you can show that 8 episodes to a person, that's it. And, they get a complete story. As in Vinland Saga, the story's still continuing. We got a complete story in Thorfinn's redemption and becoming, realizing what he has to do. But the story's ongoing still. And I love Vinland Saga. I freaking adore Vinland Saga. It's a top 5 anime of mine. And the farmer arc was phenomenal. But I just simply would give it to Pluto. Just simply because animation, voice acting, and just the story itself. Yeah, the story is still. Naoki Urasawa. I mean, he's just the GOAT.
He's the GOAT.
Like, I don't know any other author that has just 2 10 out of 10 projects.
This level of caliber for multiple projects.
Yeah, and different genres. Like, the way that he jumps from just a detective noir story to a futuristic sci-fi, like, just seamlessly. Like, it's incredible. Like, I just don't know authors that can do that. The only one that I could say that does that is Tatsuki Fujimoto, because he's able to tackle Chainsaw Man, Fire Punch, and Goodbye Eri, Look Back. Like, he's able to do slice of life, superhero, shonen, and a love letter to cinema. So yeah, that's why I call Tatsuki Fujimoto like the current day Naoki Urasawa, because he is the closest to Naoki Urasawa in our generation. But yeah, overall, phenomenal series. Loved it to death. So if you haven't been convinced, I'm going to say it one last time. Watch this show. This show is
Watch it.
Truly a masterpiece. And I think going forward, like, people are just going to talk about it. Like, maybe the reason people might not talk about it a lot right now is because of Netflix and how they all released it at once, so the hype kind of just, they released all the episodes at once, so it's not that, drive where it's like, oh, every episode every week, like we get a new episode. Ooh, no, it all hit at once, and it just kind of becomes obscure after the fact, because that's how Netflix works. If you don't watch it within the first week, nobody, it's kind of, it fizzles out, and it's tragic. I wish kind of, I kind of wish that Pluto would have gotten more, like a week to week, but because it would have been like, oh my god, I gotta wait till next week. What I wait to end an episode, but it wouldn't make sense because each episode is an hour.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely served the Netflix, and I actually liked that it was bingeable because you get the whole story fast. I like binging stuff, but I also would have liked it if, if it was a weekly release, in the sense that, people could have been talking about Pluto week to week to week until it ended. But either way, I mean, it's still it wasn't gonna change the fact that it's a masterpiece. Like, at the end of the day, it's just more of a popularity contest at that point, right? But yeah, I really, really like this show, and just watch it, guys. I can't stress this enough. If you're watching this, please watch the show, man. Like, I guarantee you, like, this show is a marvel from a technical standpoint, from a animation standpoint, from a writing standpoint, character standpoint, just all across the board. This show is phenomenal. And yeah, I just can't stress this enough. Please watch it. I loved it. Like I said, it's in my top 10. And I've seen a lot of good stuff, guys. I've seen a lot of good stuff. I've seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I've seen Code Geass. I've seen Monster. I've seen Yu Yu Hakusho. I've seen Vinland Saga. I've seen Steins Gate. I've seen Fruits Basket. I've seen Serial Experiments Lane. I've seen all Violet Evergarden. I've seen all these iconic series, but I still think that Pluto deserves a spot in that top 10. But with all that being said, what did you guys think about Pluto, the anime series from Netflix? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys thought it was alright? Whatever you guys thought, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more anime and manga content in the near future. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.